In this video, I wanted to answer the question, can you get Mexican citizenship through your grandparents? If you extend to the grandparents, tens of millions of Americans would be able to get Mexican citizenship. And many of those tens of millions can't. So in this video, we're going to break down exactly how that might work to get Mexican citizenship from your grandparents. So Mexican nationality by birth or by descent is governed by Article 30 of the Mexican Constitution, which you can look it up. This principle of jus sanguinis, or right of blood, allows Mexican citizenship to pass down through generations without interruption, but only if the chain is properly documented and registered. If your grandparent was born in Mexico, you can claim this citizenship, but not directly. The process requires establishing the link step by step. You can't skip a generation. So this means first, we need to register your parent as a Mexican national using the grandparent's records. Then we can register yourself or the grandchild using your parent's newly established Mexican birth certificate. Once you are registered, the chain is complete. And you can pass it directly to your children. You can pass citizenship, Mexican citizenship, and a passport to your children and unlimited future generations without further hurdles. This setup prevents skipping generations, quote unquote, and ensures the lineage is verified through official civil documents. So let's break down why this chain matters. Mexican law does not recognize a direct grandparent to grandchild transmission because citizenship must be proven through immediate parentage. This is a little bit different than other countries like Ireland or Canada or the UK. Maybe not the UK, but some countries will allow you to sort of skip a generation and go to the grandparents directly. Italy does this as well. A lot of European countries do this. But in Mexico, and really in a lot of Latin America, they don't have this concept of grandparent to grandchild transmission. If your parent was born outside Mexico to a Mexican-born grandparent and never registered their own birth, they aren't officially documented as Mexican yet, even though they qualify by birthright. Skipping this step would break the evidentiary trail, leading to a rejection at consulates or registries. The good news is this registration for your parent can happen, can potentially happen even posthumously if they're deceased. But generally speaking, it's a lot easier if that parent is still alive. If your parent is alive but estranged or unwilling, that can make things a little bit more difficult. So the most ideal situation is where your parent is able to be involved and is able to participate in the process and potentially attend an appointment. If your parent has passed away, or if they're unwilling to participate, they're estranged, or there's lots of reasons why they may not want to participate, and we do see this with a lot of our clients, it can potentially be done, but it's a little bit more complicated. As of 2025, the requirements haven't changed significantly since the 2021 reforms that streamlined registrations for abroad-born descendants, making it easier to establish multi-generational claims without residency tests or language proficiency. You don't need to renounce your current citizenship. We get asked this a lot. So if you're American, Canadian, European, whatever, you do not need to renounce your U.S. citizenship to become Mexican. The U.S. allows it, and Mexico allows it. Mexico allows dual or multiple nationalities without restrictions of any kind. This means U.S. citizens, for example, keep their passport, they keep their U.S. passport, while gaining a Mexican one, unlocking visa-free access to over 150 countries, including the Schengen, the UK, and much of Latin America, obviously mostly overlapping coverage with the USA, but there are some interesting ones that the USA doesn't have, or that the Mexican is actually better. For example, Mexico gets 180 days visa-free to the UAE, I believe, and the US only gets 60 days. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but in any case, I know that Mexico has a longer visa-free to the UAE, meaning Dubai, than an American does. So that's just one example. Another might be other countries that aren't necessarily aligned with the USA, like Russia or Iran, things like that. The Mexican passport often has visa-free access to these countries where the US does not. Other perks include owning property outright in Mexico's restricted coastal zone and border zones with no fideicomiso trust needed. If you're unfamiliar with what I'm talking about regarding the restricted zones for owning real estate in Mexico, we have other videos on our channel explaining that in painstaking detail. Other benefits include eligibility for free or low-cost public health care via the IMSS in Mexico. You also get voting rights in Mexican elections. You get access to cultural programs like dual nationality scholarships. You can say you're Mexican, which might help with U.S. scholarships or access to U.S. universities due to all the DEI and affirmative action type stuff. So there's really lots of benefits to a Mexican passport. You can get a Mexican driver's license, Mexican bank accounts. This can be a really interesting angle for asset protection so that you don't have all of your money in one jurisdiction. There's a whole slew of benefits more that you unlock by having Mexican citizenship. And we have other videos on the channel discussing the benefits of Mexican citizenship, which you should check out as well. And by the way, subscribe to the channel, My Latin Life. Like the video if you're learning something, because I want you to subscribe because we put out a lot of videos about Mexico. We have dozens and dozens of videos specifically about Mexico and about citizenship by descent in general. So how do we actually get the process started? So for one thing, you want to confirm your eligibility. You want to check that you have a grandparent that was born in Mexico. Naturalized Mexicans, it's a little bit more complicated, but realistically, for most people that will be watching this video, they probably have at least one grandparent who was born in Mexico. So you're going to have to dig up their Mexican birth certificate from Mexico in the place that they were born. If that birth was not registered for any reason, which it often isn't back in the day, especially if we're talking 70, 80, 100 years ago, then there's a process you can go through to actually get that birth registered retroactively. This is a common issue, especially if people were born in a rural area. Often their birth was not registered, or if they come from a family with like 10 kids, sometimes one or two of those kids weren't registered. It's kind of crazy, but it happens more than you think. Other common issues include faded records. If you only have an original birth certificate from way back in the day, it's good to get a new copy. Another common issue is name changes or name variations, such as omitting a maternal surname or using a nickname. And that, addressing that depends on the gravity of the error or the inconsistency. If the inconsistency is small, we can usually push it through. If the inconsistency is quite large, that might need to be fixed via a judicial correction. So that's something to consider as well. Next, you want to get all the documents related to your parents' birth as well, because you're going to need 3 generations of documents. So if your parent was born in the US or elsewhere, their foreign birth certificate must be apostilled by the issuing state's Secretary of State. So not just notarized, this is crucial, as non-apostille documents can often get rejected. And if you don't know what an apostille is, we have other videos on the channel explaining what apostilles are, and we even have a service that we recommend to help you get those apostilles. Now, a lot of people ask about translations to Mexico. It depends where you apply. If you apply in the US versus in Mexico, the required translations are a little bit different. Okay? So it's potentially possible to apply in Mexico or through the Mexican consulate in your home country. So there's a little bit of a strategy there in terms of speed, faster processing, in terms of if you have issues regarding name changes. Sometimes doing it in Mexico is, they're a little bit more relaxed about inconsistencies, or they're a little bit more strict through the consular system. So depending on your situation, the strategy can look a little bit different. So with your parents and grandparents' Mexican birth certificates and your parents' birth certificates, then we can proceed on a per generation basis. Once your parent is registered as a Mexican citizen, then we can move on to the children. If you're watching this as a grandchild, essentially we do your parent first, and then we can do you. And then if you have kids, which would be the the great-grandchildren of the Mexican national, we can get them citizenship as well. Again, we just have to do, we can't break the chain, so we have to do, the grandparents and the parents, and then we can do the kids after. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. This is something that a lot of people don't realize, that you can't skip a generation. You have to register every generation before you can move on to the next generation. After registration, you can pick up your Mexican passport. Remember, a passport is just a travel document. You're actually recognized as a citizen when you get a Mexican birth certificate, and essentially like a citizenship certificate. You'll get paperwork documenting your approval as a Mexican citizen. And then once you have all that documentation, then you can apply for a Mexican passport, and you'll officially have multiple passports. Now, one question I want to mention again real quick, a topic I want to mention again, is the tax implications. Mexico does not tax worldwide income for non-residents. So dual citizens only typically pay U.S. taxes as usual, or whatever country you're residing in. You can also leverage Mexico's treaties to avoid double taxation on certain income. But if you're not living in Mexico, if you're not a resident of Mexico, then you really have nothing to worry about. It's really just the U.S. that has citizenship-based taxation. Mexico does not have citizenship-based taxation. Mexico has what's called a residency-based taxation. So if you're spending less than 6 months a year in Mexico, it's highly unlikely that you're going to be considered a tax resident of Mexico. There's no automatic tax residency from citizenship alone. Only if you live there 183 plus days a year, that it could start being a little bit of a concern. So if you found this video helpful, MyLatinLife, we're a full-scale immigration and citizenship consultancy. We can help you and your entire family get citizenship in Mexico. There's a link in the description where you can book a call with us. That's typically the first step that everyone wants to do to get this process started. Book a call with us, get on our calendar. You can be speaking with us as early as this week. We can answer all your burning questions about your specific situation and make a custom game plan for you about how we're going to get you citizenship and get your parents, get your children citizenship, whatever the case may be. We've done 100 plus cases for Mexican citizenship by descent. We know the system inside and out, and we're able to help you as well. It's an incredible thing to be able to reclaim your roots, opening the doors to heritage, to a second passport, to a plan B. So if you think that you might be eligible for Mexican citizenship, highly recommend you book a call, link in the description, to get the process started, and we can be speaking together right away. And if you have some questions, you can also drop them in the comments to this YouTube video. You can like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.